Howdy, and welcome to the Lost Rider podcast. It's an honor and a privilege to address you in the capacity of an interviewer, reporter, and media member. Too many modern media outlets have forgone the integrity and responsibility required of credible information sources. What you will receive here are straightforward discussions with legislators, agency leaders, biologists, engineers, doctors, and countless other experts that have the answers to questions often circulated as kitchen table issues. The title Lost Rider may be thought of literally as well as in the metaphorical sense. While there has been the instance that I was momentarily a little turned around at night in a wilderness area, the idea of being a lost rider in life, well, that fits most folks at some time. These renderings are coming to you in the form of the 25-year-old radio program, The News from the Camp House. It still airs every Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Time on KULM 98.3 FM out of Columbus, Texas. The original intent was to relate outdoor topics to the general public. Immediately, it was found that all issues are relatable to the outdoors and that people are people. They all play a role and they all have a vested interest. It's this program's desire to answer common questions about how the world works, how it will operate in the future, and what's the holdup? So please listen, enjoy, and never hesitate to contact us with more questions and feedback. Good morning and welcome to this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House, listening post of the Texas Sportsman Association. This is Herman Brune, and this weekend's edition is also brought to us by the Shaw's Bend Social Club. Country club for folks who don't have a country club. All right, tell you what, we got a young lady with us this weekend. And it's Dana, and I'm going to let you tell, Dana, you going to tell us your last name.
Dana Dykema. It's a Dutch last name. I'm married to Dutchie.
Oh, okay. Well, what were you before?
Tassa. Very much easier. Dana Tassa.
All right, well, what? Okay, but that's not, what is that?
Norwegian.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, I ought to tell our listeners, too, you're from Vancouver, Canada, correct?
Yes, that's correct. BC.
Okay, British Columbia. All right. Okay, you're here on behalf of the Women Hunt organization, correct?
That's right. So with the Wild Sheep Foundation.
Okay, this is an offshoot. This is the Wild Sheep Foundation. We've had them on here before. We've talked a lot about wild sheep, but now you're going to tell us everything we know about this offshoot. Now it's about getting women in the outdoors and hunting and gun safety and all that. Go ahead.
Should I hold this?
You can if you want.
Okay. Save your arm. Yeah, so the Women Hunt program is it's under the umbrella of the Wild Sheep Foundation. And it's not just a one thing now. It's sort of morphed into multiple branches of this main trunk, which is Women Hunt. And my offshoot is called the Ignite podcast. So I'm the host of the Ignite podcast under the Women Hunt umbrella.
You're saying Ignite, IGNITE, the Ignite podcast. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So I'm the host of the Ignite podcast, which is a brand new offshoot with Women Hunt. But the main offering that Women Hunt does is the Field to Fork program, which is an application process that is open in May, and women have the opportunity to apply through a scholarship process. So I've applied twice. So I apply, I answer the essay style questions, and then there's a panel of ladies that all the information is scrubbed to identify the ladies. So it's like a blind
it's a vetting process.
Blind vetting process. So 12 ladies, and there's been over 100 applicants per year, and just keeps growing more and more. So, but only 12 are selected out of all of the applicants in May. Mm-hmm. So August 1st, the 12 are chosen. And then those 12 go down to San Antonio, Texas in November for like a crash course in all things how to hunt, the field to fork. So they, all they are on the hook for is their plane ticket to get to San Antonio. Everything else is taken care of for them. They're given kit, they're given a bag, they're given a rifle to use for the week, and then they have the opportunity to purchase that rifle later on. But their boots, their pack, their all of their gear up and down is all provided for them by our sponsors and donors, which is pretty awesome. And then they go through a day and a half firearms training out to 1,000 yards where they're trained how to use a firearm. Okay. And then they go on a hunt, numerous hunts, it sounds like, at the FTW ranch. Mm-hmm. And they go through that process of having their first harvest on the ranch. Right. And then processing, breaking down that animal, skinning it, gutting it, and breaking it all down, and then learning how to make sausages with it. And they get to take the meat home. And then the hope is that they'll want to give back to the community wherever they live. Mm-hmm. They're paired with a mentor if they need that support, or maybe it's their husband. They might choose their husband if he's an appropriate mentor, or if they don't have one, then the Wild Sheep Foundation will find one for them in their area and just help keep them going on their journey as a hunter.
All right. Okay. You haven't done this?
I have not. I've applied twice. Didn't make it, but I kind of got in through this other way of now being a podcast host, and I will have the opportunity though to go through the program in May. So I'm coming back to Texas at the end of May to do that Field to Fork program, which is pretty cool.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. No, that's yes, that is cool. All right. Now I think one of the logical questions here is you were talking about there's so many ladies that apply. Okay, it's not like they get shuffled aside. They're still part of the Women That Hunt, right? Or Women Hunt organization. There's other stuff for them, right?
There are other branches that we're creating because the need is greater than we have ability to supply. There's more demand than supply at the moment, is what I'm trying to say. Right. So those women who have applied that maybe didn't make it, they can apply again, and we encourage women to apply again because some of the ladies that have been successful finally in going to the ranch, they applied 2, sometimes 3 times. So we encourage people, if you didn't make it the first round, keep trying. But like someone like myself who didn't make it, but I was fortunate to still get into the Wild Sheep Foundation by a different route. But there's local fish and game clubs in your area probably. There's a rod and gun club in your area, or there's a backcountry hunters and anglers group in your area, or there's somebody doing something in the hunting and conservation space in your area. So I encourage people to find out who that is and volunteer and get involved somehow. So it might not be with Women Hunt to start with, but there's people doing stuff in your area. So we definitely want people to follow Women Hunt on Instagram and to look us up on the website at wildsheepfoundation.org. And then there's a drop down with the Women Hunt, and you can read all about the different things that we've got going on.
All right. How did you find this? How did you get hooked up with this outfit?
I found it through Instagram. I find a lot of stuff through Instagram, and it's through the connections that I've made through getting into hunting just the past 2 years. I started with volunteering through the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We have a chapter in BC. Mm-hmm. Normally that's just an American organization, but we do have a branch up in BC. So okay. I started volunteering with that. How can I help? And then recently I'm getting involved with my local North Shore Fish and Game where I live. But really, I learned about Women Hunt through Instagram, and then I started meeting ladies who went through the program. They were successful, and they become friends and hunting partners of mine. And I just felt like I belonged with Women Hunt. But so I was so glad when Renee reached out this summer and asked if I'd be the host of this new show that she had the idea for.
All right. How often do you do podcasts?
I drop a new episode every Tuesday. So we dropped our first one January 6th, and then every Tuesday since then, I've been releasing a new episode.
All right, and it's primarily with ladies in the organization, or what are you looking for when you do these episodes?
No, it's not just ladies. So, with Renee, the founder, and for myself, men have been integral to our growth as a hunter. So we would be remiss to, remove men from the equation. So it is, the name is Women Hunt, but it's not, no woman is an island. We need men. And so I have primarily interviewed women, but not only. So I've interviewed like Dan Cabela, Robbie Kroger recently at Sheep Show, Derek Blake. We have this, another branch of Women Hunt is the Ruby Mayflower Blake Foundation Legacy Fund. That's what it is. It's a whole mouthful. So Ruby was a gal. I never met her, but she loved hunting and fishing, and she was married to Derek Blake, and she passed away sadly in a drowning accident. And her husband Derek wanted to keep her memory alive. So Derek is friends with Gray and Renee, who's Gray is the CEO of the Wild Sheep Foundation. And he said, how can I keep Ruby's legacy alive? I want to do something that carries her name on. So now his branch of Women Hunt is taking a lady that, another application process, who has experienced trauma, because Ruby had experienced some kind of trauma in her first marriage, which she overcame. And hunting was a big part of her healing process. So now Derek takes out one deserving woman each year and takes her out hunting to sort of help her heal in her process. So the two ladies that have been out the past 2 years, they each have lost their husbands in various ways, and but they've had this opportunity now to go out with Derek and harvest and just go on these hunts that hopefully make them feel closer to their husbands and be part of their healing process as they move on with their lives.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Why don't we thank the folks who let us come on here every Saturday morning. We'll be right back. Thank goodness for all the great sponsors we have here at News from Camp House. H-E-B Food Stores. That's Stephen Tassa at H-E-B. He helps me. He helps the community. He's a great man. I'm so thankful H-E-B loosened him up, lets him go around and sponsor a few things. H-E-B's got all your food needs. It's the greatest food store we got here in Columbus. Thank goodness for H-E-B. First State Bank. You go over to the First State Bank, they'll take care of all your loans, all your deposits, your savings, anything you need. Bunch of great hometown people over there. You got Celia Tobias, John Pollock. Everybody over there is looking out for you. Miss Barbara Barta. It's a great bunch of folks at the First State Bank is also sponsoring News from the Camp House. First State Bank takes care of all my business. Baumgart Agency, Susan Baumgart at the Baumgart Agencies, her and Germania. She told me to plug Germania. Germania is an insurance that she likes to everybody to know about. The Baumgart Agencies. Miss Susan and I are classmates, being classmates. She got me out of high school, sat right beside her, put us in alphabetical order where I could copy. And Susan Baumgart over at the Baumgart Agency, taking care of all your insurance needs. Lyco Realty, one of the original sponsors of News from the Camp House. Lyco Realty, the oldest real estate company in the county, and for the last 3 years voted the favorite realtor in the county. Lyco Realty, that's Miss Kimberly Johnson, that's Crockett's granddaughter. More kinfolks and classmates and great people from Colorado County. People from Colorado County helping people from Colorado County. That's great. Oh, thank goodness for all these wonderful people come to me want to be sponsors for News from the Camp House. Good morning and welcome to the second half of this week's News from the Camp House. We're here this morning with a young lady, Dana, and I'm not even going to try her last name. Young lady from Vancouver, British Columbia. She is with the organization Women Hunt, which is an offshoot of the Wild Sheep Foundation. And she is the young lady that does the podcast for this outfit. It's called Ignite, what?
Just the Ignite podcast.
Okay, the Ignite podcast. All right. Coming from British Columbia and you found this organization on Instagram, but, okay, so this is your first trip to Texas.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I know you haven't really had an opportunity to circumvent the state to any great extent, but I don't know. Is British Columbia? Do you see any type of difference, any type of culture difference, anything like that as far as the hunting and hunting communities are concerned?
Yeah, well, maybe not the hunting community. I feel like people in the hunting community have been very similar to each other in that super supportive, encouraging, hopeful for the future, willing to work hard, and invest in future generations. So regardless if we're in Texas or if we're in BC or wherever, I felt right at home wherever I've traveled so far. In terms of hunting opportunities, very different. I think we have grizzly bears, we have black bears, we have, further north we've got caribou, we've got sheep, we've got goats, like mountain goats. So yeah, totally different landscape, lots of different critters, from our place to you down here.
All right. Yes, I've been in Montana, so there's lots of different critters from there to here. But how did you find the hunting deal? You grew up with the hunting a little bit, or no? Tell me about it.
No, not at all. I didn't have any connection to the hunting world until, my husband got into it 5 years ago. So I kind of think he hit a bit of a midlife crisis, and that's where he put his focus. Some people buy a Corvette, some people get into hunting. That's where he decided that that's what he wanted to do. He grew up on a commercial chicken farm with 80 acres, lots of critters around, bears and cougars and deer. But his dad, his grandpa, they were never interested in hunting. But when he started reaching around 40, that's when he decided that was something he wanted to pursue. So I said, go ahead. Great. I wasn't interested, but you go out, and if that, fills your cup, then I'm happy for you. And I'll just be here with the kids. We have 4 kids, and I'll cook your game, and I'm just be happy for you that you're having a good time out there. But then 2 years ago, I changed my mind that, okay, now I want to get into it too. So that's been nice for us to now be able to plan hunts together. We've been out hunting a couple of times together. And it's just another way for us to spend quality time. But it was through my business that I had from 2021 to 2024. I was like your middleman between you and your farmer. Knowing where your food comes from was really important to me. And through my business of being a farm-to-table food distributor, I met people who hunted. And then they were just so welcoming and invited me out to meetings, and that's how I got involved. That's how I knew people who were into this lifestyle, and it just made so much sense from an ethos of my business of knowing where your food comes from. So I knew where my carrots and cabbages grew, but I didn't know so much I wanted to be more involved in the meat procurement side. And then it was my turn to start pushing 40. And I wanted to, I felt like that adventure, I needed some of that in my life. And my kids were getting older, so I felt like now's the time. They're all teenagers now, so I don't have little babies anymore. They don't need me so much physically. I'm finding they still need me a lot emotionally and mentally. But they now, they've been kind of in both camps where mom and dad didn't hunt and fish, and then now on the other side, now they're getting into it. So now the second half of their childhood is all with mom and dad getting into hunting and fishing and taking them along and trying to teach them those things and giving them the opportunities to get out in the woods and see what it's like. So we've had some fun adventures together, but there's a lot more. This year is looking pretty bright for more opportunities together.
Good. No, that's good stuff. All right. What are your kids? What ages are they? Which ones are boys? Which ones are girls?
I don't know when to touch this thing. Right. So I've got 4. Right now they're 13, 15, 17, almost 19. So it goes boy, girl, boy, boy. So my my eldest and my third have each harvested a whitetail on my in-laws' property. So they have 80 acres in central BC. So now that my husband got into hunting, then my father-in-law got into hunting. And then my father-in-law built a 40-foot deer stand in his top field. And now every November, my husband and one of the kids will go on a hunt. And my father-in-law only allows 4 bucks to be taken off his field every year. So one of those bucks he kind of saves for Jeb and one of the kids. This year it's Jeb's turn because the past couple of years the kids have got, and so this year it's Jeb's turn. My daughter, she gets it. She's not really into it at the moment, but she'll eat everything. And she's been out hunting and she's been to the range a few times to practice shooting. It's fine for her, but it's not something that she's super into. But the boys, for sure, they think it's really cool. My youngest and my third born, for sure, I can see them going pretty far with it. My eldest is a baseball player, so he's about to leave for Kansas on a full ride scholarship for baseball. So that's his passion. But I can see him getting into the outdoors as time permits for him. But for now, his focus is baseball.
Okay. All right. No, it's cool. All right. That's deer hunting. Is there any, waterfowl, bird hunting, upland game bird hunting, any of that kind of stuff around you?
Yeah, definitely. It's not something I've been able to do yet. Seems like there's quite an expense to get into waterfowl hunting with all of the decoys and just access, I guess. Knowing a farmer that has some land that you can set up in is pretty handy, which I don't know anyone yet.
Okay.
So I haven't been able to do that. And upland game hunting, I think that does happen in central BC and over to, the eastern provinces of, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. They have a lot more upland game birds than we do in BC. BC is a lot of forest. So deer and bear are, your big game, and elk, moose, that kind of thing.
All right. No, that's cool. Now, you haven't had a shot at killing a deer yet.
I have.
Oh, you have?
I have. That's
right.
So in November of 24, my youngest son and I were invited to go to my friend's ranch at a place called 100 Mile House. And my friend had just moved to this 150-acre ranch, and she said they had a lot of whitetails up there. So we only had 2 days, but we went up there and saw a ton of sign everywhere. And then on our last afternoon, we saw my son saw a mule deer buck.
Okay.
So I got him in my crosshairs. He didn't run away, and I pulled the trigger, and he stumbled and fell and dropped right there. So that was a really great experience with my son. We quartered the deer there and then brought everything home and finished processing it together as a family on the kitchen table.
Okay. What's the primary food source for mule deer around there? Are they in farmers' fields or?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, there is a lot of farmers' fields out there. It was cold. Everything was snowed over. Mm-hmm. So we spotted him in the bush. He was just making his way around, probably to some bedding spot. But he was nibbling around at leaves and stuff. So right. I'm not sure what he was eating, but.
All right. Well, yeah. The reason I asked, y'all said y'all ate him.
Yeah.
All right. So he must have been fairly good.
Yeah, he was really good, and I'd never had venison before. So now to learn how to cook venison is such a lean meat. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting better. I think just learning some tricks there. I talked to Brenda Weatherby on my podcast recently, and she told me some tricks about, taking it out and thawing it slowly and salting it and setting it in the fridge and letting it hang out there with the salt to draw out moisture, and then cooking it real slow, or sous videing it. Have you ever tried sous vide? Mm-hmm. I haven't either, but I've eaten meat that's been sous vide, but I've never done it myself.
I don't know what that means.
So sous vide is putting your meat in a bag. And then it's in this like contraption, so it'll cook it for you, kind of like a slow cooker type deal. Okay. But you set the temperature that you want the meat to be cooked at, and it keeps it at that level. So if you want your your venison at whatever it's going to cook at 135, and then you just set it for 8 hours, and it's going to slow cook that meat, but it keeps all the juices there, so it's super tender and really delicious.
All right. Now, the reason I asked that is, I've hunted and guided and chased mule deer and done all that. And I used to get the mountain muleys, and I thought that was some of the best eating there was in the world. And all of a sudden, I shot one from Missouri Breaks that had been living on sage. And it is just, I'm waiting for one of these chefs to tell me how to fix that, because I couldn't eat it, Okay. But, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of sagebrush around that area as well. But I just don't have enough experience. I think, whatever I'm given, that's what we're going to eat.
Right.
We have got a little spring black bear as well. And I think she was eating a lot of fish. And my kids could always smell when I was frying up the ground bear, because it smelled like fish. So they'd holler from the other room, like, "Are you cooking up that bear again? It smells like fish in here." Like, yeah, well, this is what we're eating, regardless. I couldn't really taste the fishiness of it, but they said that they could. So, it really does impact what they eat and how far along in the rut they were. Apparently, that also impacts the meat. But I found my mule deer pretty tasty, so I'd be happy with another one.
Tell my listeners where to find you, where to find out more about Women Hunt.
So obviously, Instagram that's my happy place, and I have access to Instagram. It's the @women_hunt is the Instagram, and then on the website we're at the wildsheepfoundation.org, and then there's a Women Hunt bar, and you can do the drop down tab and then read all about us and what we've got going on. And then there's my personal one, Dana Dykema, on Instagram, and I live there happily all day, every day. So always uploading stories and sharing what I'm doing.
All right. Folks, I hope you enjoyed it this weekend. Fun to have Miss Dana in here. Fun to talk to young folks. Hear how excited they get and how they find how to hunt, where to go, and all that. So, all right. Hope everybody enjoyed it this weekend. Hope everybody learned something. Look up Women Hunt and check it out. It's all good. It's all under the Wild Sheep Foundation. So now it's time for y'all to go out, have a great weekend, have a lot of fun, be safe, and y'all just remember, pretty much any day is sure a good day to be out in the woods.